Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar Accelerate App Modernization with the Microsoft Cloud. Today I will be your host. My name is Antoine, and I have a few people with me. If you can go, Elio, on the next slide, please. So Elio will introduce you the DevTeam M Cloud. After that, you will have a quick demonstration with Thibaut, and Magnus will take the lead with managed services, and he will add the step to Avi, Avnish, our project manager and UX expert with leading truth experience. And after that, you will finish with the question why change management matters, leading by Thierry Bartel. So I will let the mic to Elio. So please, Elio.
Thank you very much, Antoine. Nice to meet you, everyone. Here in front of us, we can see the beautiful animation of DevTeam with our slogan, Creative Tech for Better Change. This is something important that we'll go deeper on in the next slides. Myself is Elio Messina, working with DevTeam since 4 years now. And I'm here today, guys, to present to you DevTeam at a group level and specifically DevTeam M Cloud. So here we do have a beautiful slide. Sorry, I don't know why it keeps changing by itself. That says Tech for People unlocks the future. DevTeam is a leading consulting firm focused on digital strategy, tech platforms, cybersecurity, and business transformation. This is something very important to retain. And what defines DevTeam? What defines us is technology. It is our DNA. But we believe in technology as a positive force that is driving a transformation for the better. This purpose is embodied in our vision, Tech for People unlocks the future. And those are not just beautiful words put in a slide, but they are supported by our foundation. We have multiple examples of explaining this assessment, but in 2020, we have donated 1,700 pro bono days to NGOs that we have helped put tech at the service of society. Another one of our top concerns is climate change, and we see digitalization as a key feature of every scenario for a more sustainable, greener world. We are committed to improving our internal practices and to accompanying our customers toward a more sustainable development. This is something that we put in place and we act in an everyday basis. On the bottom line of this slide, you can see a couple of numbers. We are a player with 25 years of experience, and we have reached a certain maturity, I would say. We are a mid-sized and very focused company, so it means that we are a little bit of both sides. So we are big enough to support our customers' transformation at a scale, and small enough to be agile and responsive to our clients, wherever they are located in Europe and Middle East. You will see later through a visual map that we are present in lots of countries, actually. Not only does our size enable us to set high ambitions, but it also gives us real means to invest, especially in the development of our 8,000 people. We continuously certify our consultants and experts on the latest technologies. So we do have, guys, 4,000 certification across DevTeam Group. Our aim, our goal is to help you, customers, to achieve a highly effective transformation that will have a significant and measurable impact. This was the goal of this slide. So I'm moving to the next one, saying that I would like to emphasize what's our mission. And our main belief is that companies should think and behave as a tech players to thrive. To do so, we help our customers to apply two main key principles. Firstly, we build a very strong technological foundation based on cloud platforms because we think that this is the best way to scale. Very important thing. And this is why we have developed the very strong partnership with these partners here, whom you see the logos there. And they are who we consider to be the 5 leading and most innovative technology platforms in the digital market, from which we leverage massive research and development capabilities. We aim to attract the best experts on those technologies to be highly certified and most awarded by our partners. Our ambition is to become your greatest ally in leveraging these technologies and the associated methodologies to realize better change. The second principle that we apply to ourselves and promote to the customers is what we call the studio model. The studio model is a dynamic competition, is the uncertainty of your business environment, and ever-evolving customers' demands require permanent adaptation. So that's why we wanted to our methodology of delivery being evolving as well. For this reason, we recommend switching from a project mindset, which has enabled companies to transform in the past, to a product one. It means working in the agile and continuous innovation mode with multidisciplinary teams that mix different skills. It's very important to mention we do have developers, UX designers, business consultants, data and cybersecurity experts. I mean, I can go on, but you took my point. We consider cloud-based platforms and the studio model to be the 2 most powerful levers for achieving full and rapid digital transformation. Today is something that very, very important. With my next slide, I would like to tell you that we do not just rely on technology platform, but we go beyond their power to tackle our clients' strategic challenges. So I'd like to introduce to you the 6 areas of expertise Devo team has chosen to focus on, because we believe they are the most transformative when adopted at a scale. The first domain is the digital business and products. The second you can see is data. The third is cloud in all its aspects, whether it is a sovereign multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, or distributed cloud. Then we have business automation, cybersecurity, and last but not least, we have mentioned it before, is sustainability enabled by digital, which is about leveraging digital tools to achieve sustainable development goals and become a more responsible companies. At Devo team, we take our customers on a continuous innovation journey over time. And first, we imagine together with you new digital products and services. Then we develop and implement them on a platform. And finally, we enter into operation mode with our cloud managed services. Operating directly into the cloud enables you to benefit from the regular new features of cloud providers. And with our circular continuous innovation approach, we ensure that our clients' digital products are always up and running, efficient, secure, and optimized. That's what makes us end-to-end approach so powerful. The first slide focusing a little bit more on Devo team M Cloud. So Devo team M Cloud is as I'm reading, a leading partner from premium consulting solutions and managed services for Microsoft. We would like to transfer to you our strong ambition to be a leading premium Microsoft partner, fully aligned with our infinite strategy explained during the first slides. And we make very clear that we are well positioned to tap the full potential of Microsoft platform integration to innovate with our customers. mCloud is the name of our Microsoft teams within Devo team group. And with this identity, we want to express our capabilities as a pure play Microsoft partner. And we deliver premium Microsoft consulting services, solution, and managed services. It allows us to attract the best talent and continuously invest in our people, offer best practices and automation cloud assets to guarantee a premium service that is enabling you to untap the full potential of Microsoft Cloud Platform and services. Our strategic partner relationship with Microsoft is key to be continuously on the leading edge and keep pace with the rapid cloud innovation, leveraging the massive research and development capabilities of Microsoft to transform them in your unique innovative business, use case, and transformation journeys. It's our ambition to realize your better change by intelligently and pragmatically mapping the best Microsoft can offer to your innovation story. A little bit more in details. As you can see here, Devoteam M Cloud is already a very sizable pure Microsoft player in EMEA. We do have more than 1,000 Microsoft experts realizing more than 110 millions in revenue, and our 16 gold certifications covering the full spectrum of Microsoft offer. We do have a strong platform for growth to tap yet the untapped large potential of Microsoft Cloud Platform to our customers' benefit. We are, as you can see in the slide, Azure Expert MSP, and you can see there a couple of achievements that we have got. As we are all aware, digital business and technology skills are key and still too scarce to allow us to address the digital tidal wave still in front of us. That is why at Devoteam we're continuously investing in reskilling and certifying our consultants with today more than 1,000 certifications, 1,400 achieved, and this guarantees to you to always have the right skill to successfully realize your projects. At the same time, we are making sure we are building your solutions conform to Microsoft best practices and frameworks and fully using cloud native capabilities, cloud automation, and everything as a code, basically. Partner with such advanced capabilities are certified by Microsoft after a rigorous external audit, I can confirm, and as advanced specialization partners in specific areas. Devoteam today has been successfully certified in 4 key domains, maybe a couple of more since the creation of this slide. M365 adoption and change management, Azure migration, Azure application modernization, and Azure Kubernetes are just some of them. Our Microsoft Center of Excellence in Portugal is continuously investing in people, assets, and procedures to further industrialize our cloud journey delivery and to guarantee a comprehensive cloud managed services. Above all, the mCloud community throughout Europe is a very active platform of learning, sharing, and collaboration that is allowing us to address our customers' most challenging and innovative projects and becoming a magnet throughout EMEA to attract top talents. So guys, with this last slide, I would like to thank you for your attention. I will going to move the hand through our next speaker, that is Thibaut Seulement. And thank you very much for your attention and questions later. Thank you.
So let me share my screen. Okay. So thank you, Elio, for the presentation of Devoteam. Hello, everyone. In this first part of the webinar, I'm going to talk about DevOps and from the backlog of the project to the application being developed in production, and more specifically about the automatic provisioning of testing environment with the help of GitHub and Azure. First, let me introduce myself. So I'm Thibaut. I'm a technical manager at Devoteam Luxembourg in the mCloud pillar. So my role at Devoteam consists of managing everything related to the technical part of the project and products that we develop in the creative tech, from the pre-sales activities to the architecture of the solution to the actual deployment of the product in production. I have high interest in cloud computing, software architecture, and best practices, and I'm really focusing on the Microsoft stack. In my free time, I really like swimming and do some biking. So DevOps. DevOps is a buzzword used for many years now. And to describe what is DevOps, I really like to use the definition of one employee at DevOps called Donovan Brown. So his definition of DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. So really the end goal of the DevOps principle is to deliver value to as frequently as possible to the end users. So only having some tools doesn't mean you are doing DevOps. Only following some processes doesn't mean you are doing DevOps. To do DevOps, you will need, your team or organization will need the tools and the processes and the right mindset of your people. In other words, DevOps is a set of practices, techniques that enables the organization to deliver more frequently value to the end user. The time from development to the actual deployment in production should be kept as a minimum in order to provide value as soon as possible. Really, the development cycle should be kept as small as possible, and there we are talking about few weeks. DevOps has many benefits, such as faster code delivery, because the cycles of development are really short. Faster time to market is another benefit, because the faster you can deliver, the faster you can provide feature to your end users. Higher quality software, because deploying small changes really often has lesser chance to break the production environment than a big bang deployment after a few months of development. It improves the collaboration between developers and operation, because you don't have a dev teams and an operation team anymore. You have a single team that is focusing on the same goal and bring value to the end users. And the last benefits that we can see is a decreased time to resolution for fixing bugs and vulnerabilities. This is a consequence of the higher quality software and the faster code delivery, because we have short cycle. In order to profit to all of these benefits, your team will need some agility. It will be harder to achieve everything that we talked about using a waterfall approach with big walls between each team. So agility is really the driver of everything, and feedback is a key element there. We want feedback at every stage of the process. So at each iteration, we want feedback from our team, from our business, about the product vision. During the sprint, we want our continuous integration pipeline to provide feedback to the developers of the quality of the code. During the sprint, we also want feedback from the automated and the manual testing, because the sooner we detect bugs, the sooner they can be fixed and less money will be spent on maintenance, etc. And we also want feedback from the production environment itself, so log, metrics, everything that can help us improve the products. To increase the quality and the quantity of the feedback, automation is another big main key in the DevOps. So let's now dive into the process used to develop and deploy a new feature from the backlog to the production environment. So in this slide, you can see the typical flow of the development of feature in a DevOps environment. So first, we have the developer that grabs a user story from the backlog. He will implement the different changes and commit its change to a Git repository. Once the feature is developed, the developer is creating a pull request. At that time, when the pull request is created, a continuous integration pipeline will be triggered. This pipeline will do some static code analysis and check if the code coverage is good, and will run all the automated unit tests. In parallel, other members of the team should review the code and check if everything is good. If everything is good, the PR is accepted and the feature is now merged into the main branch. Once it's in the main branch, another pipeline, a continuous delivery pipeline, will be triggered to create a package that will be deployed to the first environment. Very often, the first environment is a dev environment. So once it's tested in the dev environment, the package can go through the other environments until the package ends up in production. But this flow has two problems. What if the deployment breaks during the the deployment into the dev environment. You can see it's not a big deal. We can restore an old version, but it will cost time and it will cost money in the end. And with this flow, we also have a dev environment who is long-lived. So you pay for this environment all the time. So the rest of this presentation will focus on solving these two issues. So how can we improve this flow? So by creating a dedicated testing environment for the pull request during the process. The concept is really easy. When a PR is created, a new environment is created to test the new feature. When the PR is merged to the main branch, or if the pull request is cancelled, then the environment is simply deleted. So there are a few advantages of the automated testing environments. So the first one is resource isolation. In this fresh environment, we are not worried about breaking stuff that other people are doing. It has its own infrastructure, so it doesn't mess with anything else. And so the feature can be retested in isolation. The second advantage of this solution is really cost effective. As long as the pull request is not open for a long period of time, it will not cost a lot. And you do not longer need a long-lived dev environment anymore. You just create a test environment when it's really needed. And the last advantage that we can see is it enables to create production-like environment in a matter of minutes. So how we do that? So to achieve that, we need to automate everything. So first, we need to automate the deployment of the infrastructure. So application server and services, deployment of the databases, the security stuff, and the networking stuff. Then we need to automate the deployment of every part of the application under test. So web application, mobile application, APIs, background jobs, you name it. And then you need to populate the data in the database. What do we need to automate everything? So everything should be kept under a source control management system. Nowadays, Git is the main system used. For the following demo, we will use GitHub to manage that. The infrastructure should be configured using infrastructure as code, so in order to automate the deployment of the environments. So every configuration of the infrastructure should be coded and stored into Git. For the following demo, we'll use Bicep to do the infrastructure as code. It's not mandatory to have the infrastructure in the cloud, but it will be easier and it will be more cost effective to use a cloud provider to host these testing environments. And finally, we will need some CI/CD pipeline to automate everything. And in the demo, we will use GitHub Action to help us on that. So now I will switch to the demo. So for the context of the demo, I have a search website. So this is our search website, which is a static website hosted in Azure that is calling an Azure function to do the search. And this Azure function is connected to a Azure SQL database. So here we can see this will be the production environment. So you can see if I'm doing some research, I'm receiving some results. And the customer wanted do some change to this website. This website is searching in invoices and notes in the database. And at the moment, we only have one generic icon, and we don't know if this document is a note or an invoice or something like this. So he asked us to implement something that can say, okay, this document is note, this one is an invoice, etc. So we took his request, we developed it, and now we created a feature branch with we will switch from the icon based on the type of the documents. So I've created a branch called icons where I already developed the little change. So now I will create a pull request that will trigger the creation of a new test environment. So I will create the new request. And if I'm going to the action tab on the GitHub action, we will see that a pull request is opened and the pipeline is triggered. So it will take some time to build the infrastructure and to deploy the application. So I already deployed a small environment to speed up the things. So we can see in the pipeline we have two things. So first we will deploy the infrastructure, and then we will deploy the application itself. So during the deployment of the infrastructure, what we need to connect to Azure. For example, we need to create a resource group. We need to apply some biceps template to create the static web application, the SQL database, and the Azure function. Then we also need to populate the database using some Azure SQL deploy, and then we need to set up some configuration. Once we have all this infrastructure in place, the second part of the pipeline will be to actually deploy the application. So we also log the application, we build the application, and we deploy it. So at the end, we can see that I already have a specific resource group created in our Azure resource that contains the two resources that we need for the application. And this resource group will be deleted once the PR is complete. So now this is the application with the new feature deployed. So you can see if I'm doing some research, I can see that there is some invoices now and that there is some notes. So the icon is different based on the type of the document. So I can test, okay, it works well. I can now close the PR so it can be to the main branch and be deployed to the production environment. So I will go to my pull request that I created. I can see, okay, I forget to merge it, but anyway, it will trigger a new pipeline that will remove the resource group, and everything in Azure should be removed in a few seconds. So you can see there is the new resource group that has been created for the PR that I just created. So resources are being created, and yeah, it takes some time. So, and yes, and I want to quickly show you how the infrastructure as code is being done. So here is an example for the static web app. So we have the configuration of how we want the static web app looks like. So we have a base name, we have the location where the static web app will be deployed, the different SKU, the identity, and different properties. So everything related to an infrastructure should be as code. So it will be easier to recreate a new environment. And yeah, we also have some SQL scripts to populate the database. So it's basic SQL script that is launched during the pipeline. Okay. And so this is the end of my presentation. Now I will give the mic to Magnus, who will talk to you about managed services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen first of all. All right. Thank you very much for that presentation about DevOps. That was brilliant. So now I want to talk about managed services, and that's why I am here today. I could spend a lot of time showing you our managed cloud platform service, what it means, what it's about. This, for example, is our sales slide, if you will, of one of our services. That would be interesting, maybe, and I have plenty of these. I can go on and on and on all day, all week, talking about our services and what they contain. However, I don't want to do that. I want to go a little bit different and start by telling you a story. So we're going to talk about, the story is about this company called Acme. And Acme, they are going to the cloud. They are just a regular manufacturing company in a country or a city right near you. They have, you know, some on-premises IT infrastructure as you normally would, and they also have some hosting that they have co-located out on the town that they have rented. They realize, of course, that it's time to begin this move to this cloud thing. And so they are taking their first steps in that direction. And very soon, Acme discovered that the road to the cloud is full of very treacherous holes and pitfalls all over the place. And it's kind of scary and daunting, and they don't know exactly what to do because they find out things such as financial control. It is difficult. When we were on premise, we could just calculate an annual budget for IT and then basically chalk that up in the budget, and then here we go, there we are. We have our budget for it. But in the cloud, it's frustrating because it's not the same. When they're outside of their old data centers, they find it very confusing to centralize compliance. It's been handled by the IT department before, but now it's not the same. They don't know exactly how to be in control. And also they're struggling with the strategy for their security, because security is a strange beast in the cloud. There are so many different new services that they are not accustomed to yet. So they kind of feel a little bit lost. They feel that however many holes in the road they try to avoid, they always end up with new holes. And if they fall into a hole, they try to dig out and try to get out of there, but it seems like those holes keep getting deeper all the time. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I mean with that. But Acme definitely find that they are in trouble. So things are not really looking so well for Acme, and they start looking around and trying to understand, what can we do differently? What should we be doing instead? And somebody comes up with the idea that, hey, how about maybe we go out on the town and try to find an expert? Again, I am Magnus Martinsson. I've already been introduced, and I've been on the Azure cloud since the very beginning. I've always been a consultant, and I was the first to be an Azure MVP in the Nordic countries, which means that my experience is as long as possible in the cloud. I was there when it started. I have seen a lot. I have talked to a lot of customers. I have helped a lot of people to get onto the cloud. And I've worked with different teams all over the place, which is why I can confidently say that when I joined Devo team, I found a group of people that are really, really awesome at this, that are dedicated and devoted and experienced, that can really help anyone to get to the cloud. So let's talk about that. Managed services is about getting help, about finding a guide to get you past those treacherous holes and get you out of the holes and get you onto the road towards the cloud. So let's talk about that now. I'm going to first start by, of course, talking a little bit about what is currently failing on the journey to the cloud. And then we'll talk about how you should instead navigate to be more successful. What should you be doing instead that you maybe are not doing today? And of course, we are going to end up talking about guidance, how to get a guide. And yes, it's a sales pitch a little bit at the end, so you have to bear with me with that one. But I think it's okay. I hope it's okay. So on the path to the cloud, you see this gentleman here, he's carving out steps to the cloud. On the path to the cloud, we discover certain things such as costs tend to forever rise. The consumption cost of Azure tends to rise and rise and rise forever and always, and never really come to a plateau or never really be in control. Services that we have, they are never configured correctly or properly. There are plenty of problems all the time with our service configuration, and it's kind of difficult to understand what to do. We have many teams, and each team needs to learn and understand the same thing over and over and over again. Security, the setup there, wow, I've seen so many times, unfortunately, how there are red blinking lights in the Microsoft Defender dashboard, and people just tend to kind of shrug about it and say, well, those lights are always blinking, so I don't know what to do about it. And these can be serious companies, and they're not really doing something wrong. I'm not pretending or saying that people are doing something wrong. I'm saying that it's hard to find the way. It's hard to carve out those steps on the way to the cloud. It is challenging for everyone that I ever worked with. And there are some strategies that we need to employ to make it better. If only we had enough time, if only we had enough money. And time and money can somewhat be translated to one another, right? You can roughly translate, if you add more money, it's going to go faster, and vice versa, right? But if you have more time, it's not going to cost as much. That's partially true, but if you can't add 10 times more money and the time will be a tenth, so it doesn't really translate completely. But what is glaringly obvious for most of us is that this cloud landscape is new to us, that we don't know how to navigate really. And we have some really good IT people, definitely great people. And then when they come to the cloud, they see all these new tools and all these new dashboards and all these new things. And it's still, the landscape is unfamiliar, which means that we should be investing in more skills or upskilling our staff and finding skills to join our company. That's a very easy observation, but it's difficult to obtain because there are not that many skilled, experienced people out there. Everybody wants them. So it's a nice job market for us right now. So let's look at some of these things on the road to the cloud, real evidence now. Let's leave maybe the Acme story mode and talk about some real scenarios. And to be clear, in the following slides, we have hidden the names to protect the victims. These are real customer cases and real scenarios, and they're very common. So, financial operations, let's start with that. If you have lots of recommendations that you should be processing and you don't, that's a large waste. So here is a potential yearly savings. This is from the Azure portal of $500,000 Danish. That's about 50,000 euros, right? So, or thereabouts. It's a lot of money that could be saved by doing various things. Some of these are quick fixes. Other of them take a little bit more of a strategic planning and thinking. For example, reserved instances is such a scenario. How do we strategically plan for how many reserved instances we should buy that can give us a massive discount if we do buy them? Only if we need them, right? So that conversation turns out to be so difficult that it usually never happens, or often it never happens at least, and it's a dangerous place to be in. And once you have bought these reservations, well, then there's a risk that you never actually begin to optimize and move you away from virtual machines onto platform services. So there are lots of things to consider here. What you need here is, again, skills. You need skilled people to jump in and quickly assess and prioritize and understand this one is easy, that one is not so easy. That's a difficult conversation. We should have that right now. And push these boundaries, because if you have people, if you ignore this, right, you will just waste money. If you fix all of it, but it takes a lot of effort, well, then the savings were not that great. But what you really want to do is dig into it quickly and get many of these resolved. So here's an example of slightly you're seeing that the test environments here are increasing in cost. And why are they increasing in cost? This is a common affliction, actually, that once you start testing more and more and more, you start deploying your things and keeping them in the cloud for a long time. And you kind of don't know exactly how to quickly set up and tear down testing environments. Whenever I see something like this, you know the thing about asking 3 questions. You're asking why 3 times, right? So why does testing have an increasing Azure cost in these environments? Why are our testing costs increasing all the time? Well, it's because we haven't fully automated the deployment of our testing environments. Okay, why have you not fully automated the testing environment deployments? Well, we haven't prioritized those man hours because it's going to take a while to set up the automation. Okay, why have you not prioritized those man hours? Well, because we haven't measured the cost savings ratio. If we invest a certain amount of hours into the automation of our test environments, it's going to cost a little bit of money. And maybe that's daunting. Maybe we don't have the priority and the time for that. Well, the future of having automated testing environments is actually going to save money all the time in the future. And people maybe sometimes don't realize. So here's another example of rapid resource increased costs of virtual machines here and some reservations, in fact, but there are rapid increases in cost. And many times when I see that, it can be that we're migrating new workloads. Those are planned increases in costs, and that's great. You take additional workloads from on-premises and you migrate them to Azure. Well, that's new costs. Okay, cool. But if you remove those new costs that are planned, you often find waste. I kid you not that I literally found 10 virtual machines that had been running in a customer environment for 3 months, 10 VMs times 3 months, just running there. And I questioned them and I said, those VMs, what are those for there? Well, those are, I don't know what those are. Do you know what those are? And they were like looking around and trying to find out who was responsible for it. And the key takeaway from that is to investigate your costs and question them to find out who is responsible, yes, but you also want to have this cost data to make people feel accountable, because we want to be professional, but we want to feel accountable. So non-compliance, let's talk about compliance a little bit. This is a classic almost. This is usually what compliance looks like when you look at it at a customer site. Compliance at 12%, or about 7% of the resources here, 62 out of 931 are compliant and the rest are not compliant. What does that even mean? When I talk to customers about this compliance thing, they have no idea how to approach it. They don't know what to do with this, seriously. It is so hard because each team that deploys something have to learn and understand how compliance works. They get no help and they don't exactly see the benefits. They understand they need to be compliant, but if they don't know what the goalpost is and what the penalty is of not being compliant, nobody really knows. A lot of companies go to production with systems that are quite low on compliance scores. One problem with compliance is that even if you do make a compliant deployment, it's going to change over time. And the reason for that is this. This is the Azure Advertiser. You can browse to that. It's a site where a gentleman is listing the changes in Azure policy initiatives, aliases, and so forth. I want to focus on policy. And you'll see here that there were, in January 28th, there were 83 changes, updates to the policies in Azure. On February 4th, there were 10 new updates and 4 completely new policies. And then on February 11th, there were, again, 8 new updates and 12 new policies. That means that within less than a month, there were 117 different changes to the cloud, to the policies that make up the basis for your compliance. And no one can keep up with this. It's just not human to do that, especially not within most companies that don't have this as your business idea. You don't know what to do or how to keep up to date or up to speed, and each team would have to individually also do the same work over and over again. Here's another sad picture, but it's not so sad. It's the cost is terrible, right? The cost optimization potential is 567,000 Danish. That's nice, but there are highlights here that there, performance and operational excellence and things that are really good according to this. But if you have advisories that tell you that you can be optimizing, you actually must be doing it, because if you're not doing it, you're going to miss out on all of that money, for example, that you can invest in other things, such as improving your products even more. I like to call this picture half secure. It's where we are, right? It's at 51% security score. Those of us who work with the security score and try to improve that and increase security know that there are a few things that have a lot of security score, like 25% for just fixing one thing, can bump you up really quickly towards the top. But to have these and not take care of them is super dangerous. If you have insights about the security threats and you don't act on them, I don't know what that is about, to be honest. There's 600 active alerts here, and it seems like it is a lot, but most of them are probably bunched together so you can deal with them quickly. But it's hard to do, and it's hard to invest and understand what it is that we're supposed to be doing, because there seems to be endless recommendations for various things that you should be doing, and more recommendations show up all the time. So clearly, this is not the way to do it. It is hard to do. Compliance, security, and financial operations, financial optimizations. It's really difficult. And what should we be doing instead? How should we get empowered? Well, there is a better way. There's something that you should be doing, and that is that you should be gathering the correct data and get the data analyzed by some experts and then launch in style towards the cloud to get out of the holes and get on a better path. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of improvements. I like this one. A lot of wasted disks, as in VM disks, were hanging about, and nobody knew what they were for. Nobody knew why they were there. And we found a $42,000 a month disk saving on virtual machine disks just by figuring out what they were and going through them and cleaning them out, and lots of money was saved. This one is also beautiful. This is one of our reports that we made and showed the customer that before the cost optimizations we did and after, if you look at the numbers down below there, we found 166,650 euros just by looking at the numbers, just by penetrating what was there and understanding and tagging things and making things people accountable. We also have a bunch on our managed services. We have, like, for example, this is our policies dashboard. It's a bit of an overview slide, but it shows that you can start digging into your policies and your compliance and figuring out what the impact is of certain things and what's the risk and which ones are important for us to take care of first. And here is a benchmark against various standards like the ISOs and the NISTs and the Azure Security Benchmark and others. So you can find out where you are compared to official benchmarks. This is an Azure Compliance Planner, which is part of our compliance managed service, where the customer can manage the policies and delegate to us to, in general, handle various things the following way. We want you to, if possible, do a remediation for compliancy issues, but there are also certain things that maybe are okay to get an exemption from. And an exemption is that the risk owner owning a service takes the risk on themselves to handle the compliance of a certain thing. Maybe in some cases, it's okay to take a step outside. So this is a planner planning tool that comes into our products toolbox. This is the security score per subscription, so you can find out which is good and which is, has room for improvement, and many other things like this that we build into our managed services to actively give tools and help and guidance and advice to our customers to improve continuously. So we make reports like this, and I want to call out one thing is that I think that most of us can probably find the dashboards in the cloud, like in Security Center or the advisories, or they can find the compliance problems and look at them. Well, it's one thing to look at them, but it's a whole other thing to actually take action upon them. So knowledge is power, right? But an actionable plan, that's epic. So you can actually do something about the problems and go towards a better place, right? So I'm coming towards the end of this presentation. I want to quickly check in with the team. Are there any questions for this session right now that I need to talk to? No, none right now. That's perfectly fine. We will go and just do a quick summary. And I want to say that, the challenge with the cloud is that you cannot really arrive to a place that is constantly moving. There are new security threats. There are updates to the policies all the time. And, there's always financial optimizations to be made. One of my favorite things to argue is that the worst thing that can happen to your application is success, which means that it starts out in a certain way. You have set up the cost and everything works really well. And it seems optimized and it seems to be running smoothly. And then all of a sudden you're successful and it's starting to run badly in performance and people panic and add a lot of instances to the application, which just bumps the cost up real high. And now you're all out of whack again, you're spending too much or your customers are dissatisfied. And this is a difficult balance. And so the cloud is constantly moving and you can never really arrive at it. But what you need to do is start digging into the data and finding the right, just automatically collect the data. Sure, that's one thing, but then making sense of the data and figuring out where to put your prioritized efforts to continuously, constantly improve. And what we find there with our managed services offerings, obviously, is that clever businesses tend to get a guide. They get some experts in the room. Let's say that you get compliancy experts to help all of your teams in a uniform way to deploy more compliantly or with a higher level of compliancy. That in turn, if everyone is deploying similarly with automated deployments using the same kind of components and getting a high compliancy score, makes it much more efficient to do operations, which is beautiful. So please, I think, I want to beg you, let us be your guide, and we will definitely share together with you when you win. We have an offering right now that you can take part of or consider, start testing us out, and you can jump to that. I'm going to paste that actually as an announcement, so you can click on that link. And actually, that's it for me. I'm done. I'm going to hand over now to Terry. No, not you.
It'll be Avi. I'll be taking over from here. No worries. Thank you, Magnus. Thank you, Magnus. I was getting to share my screen. Up.
Thank you, Avnish.
All right. That was a wonderful take on managed services. I think it's so important. It helps accelerate people's journey with the Microsoft Cloud. And I'm going to tie in on a little bit of a different aspect in today's webinar. So today I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about leading through experience. So my name is Avi, Avnish Raizada, but I find that Avi will be easier for a lot of people to pick up on. At Devoteam, I've been here for almost 5 years. I'm an experienced advisory lead, and my key priorities here are implementing effective user experience, customer experience strategies, talk about business strategy and a bit of adoption, and focus on implementing governance across all of our customers. I personally also do enjoy being a coach in all topics experience. As you can see on some of the pictures here, I've held a conference or a webinar or an active workshop almost every year, multiple times for the past 4 or 5 years. So going a bit forward, finding out what is really experience. I'm gonna, in my agenda today, talk about an introduction on experience, talk about how research and discovery ties into this topic, and how it really fits well into the product approach. And finally, core context to my message today, leading through experiences, how we can shift from these, transverse multidisciplinary unicorns to leaders. So one quote I'd love to always talk about is from Bruce Lee. I'm sure everyone always knows the wonderful and incredible martial artist out there. He has always said, "Be water, my friend." And in the same context, right? So if you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. And that same way, water is always adapting, it's flowing and evolving. And user experience or experience as a whole falls in the same category. You have three key aspects to it, right? So experience is like water. You have to adapt because you have to always target your research, understand who's your audience, what are their expectations, what are the major difficulties. You have to define these personas that have similar trait characteristics that can really help build a better understanding on having a user-centric approach in truly creating fantastic experiences. You also have to flow, right? So to understand how these personas are acting, you need to really take into account what steps do they go through to achieve any given task today. Will make them happy. What is their empathy levels? What is their mood levels at every single step throughout the way? And what kind of tasks do you expect them to achieve tomorrow? How can we optimize? How can we improve, be more intuitive? And lastly, obviously, we always have to evolve, whether it's branding, the corporate vision, talk about user scenarios, being responsive, integrating our personas into this new workflow of steps. What is the true brand? What is the vision of the brand? What do you want to achieve in the future? And how will the experience translate from one device to another? We're talking a lot about today about accelerating application modernization. So how will working from mobile to web differentiate from that user? What if you have a multiple series of products? Creating a homogeneous brand that really defines yourself as a company, this is truly going to be enabled by applying experience to your project. Nonetheless, I'd like to always say that humanity does come first. So early 2005, we talked a lot about design and digital media. It's also a bit of my background, but it was very strictly about UI context, right? Interface-centric approach. Secondly, more between 2012, 2015, upwards of 2017, there was a high buzz focus on everything that was UX and a bit of CX, understanding that customer experience is not the same thing. User experience is a lot more than just building interfaces. As always, experience is always going to be more than that. Now, looking into the future with the metaverse, with AR, with VR, with the fantastic transitions to the cloud, putting a lot of our resources onto Azure and exploiting what we have today, we have to really think in a humanity environment, right? Humanity first, being sustainable, being ecological, and truly englobing our customers in an end-to-end experience in everything they do every single day. I think this shifts well into my next approach because we do talk a bit about how do we actually do this research and discovery. We spoke about experience, we spoke about what is experience. We need to really take into account what are the tasks to achieve this. And I'm going to go into a few detailed examples, but I do have a little summary at the end of a quick fix which you can integrate into all of your products and projects. I like to start and diving into three key workshops, which I always do with all of my customers. And I always also recommend them to do regardless before they even actually go into a development infrastructure or change management project. So you always need to take into consideration your personas, as you spoke about before, understand your audience, identify the people who have these same characteristics. Using these personas, you can then put them into a value proposition design, which is truly interweighing user and business gains versus pains versus objectives, and understand how they tie in together. Once you really get a perfect fit between user values and business values, you know that you're on the right path to truly achieve success. And that's when you can actually start doing these experience workshops. Now, a great way to start is always to talk about customer journey maps. Customer journey maps truly takes your user's experience today. I'm in a restaurant, so that means I looked up a recommendation online or had a word-to-mouth recommendation. I went on site, I was greeted, I got a table, I was proposed a drink, I looked at the menu. Or if you're thinking a bit more digital or in applications, you enter your application, you log in, you have to potentially sign up, fill up, and move forward, and then you have certain interactions or features you interact with within the application. And then you obviously have a cutoff point, a bounce-off point. And understanding what happens today is only going to give you raw data. And this raw data is absolutely essential to be able to define how will you do this tomorrow in a more effective, intuitive, and wonderful way, because user experience and experience as a whole is always about providing a more pleasant approach to any kind of journey a user has. these are really defining the principles of how to get a good foundation out there. And the outcomes are quite straightforward. You get a persona sheet for a different kind of character. I'd always go between 1 and 3. If you have to go more, that means you're not branching out enough into diversity personas. Obviously, you have a value proposition design, putting user and business per persona, a customer journey map per persona as well, and you'd wrap up with a service blueprint. And I believe this last one is really key here, because a lot of people are like, what is a service blueprint? A blueprint, it sounds like an architect. And in some way, it really is. So the service blueprint, as you can see on the left, you have an example of the customer journey map, and below you have another example of like a journey where you see the user going through multiple steps. And these are always done with Post-its and active workshops. I mean, today the webinar is virtual. If I was on site, I'd probably even have a little workshop going on. And the service blueprint is truly how an expert will define the life of the product in the future. They both are at the end-to-end operation. One is today, one is talking about tomorrow. They have to be based on factual data. The research is gathered through analysis, through studies, through benchmarking, and obviously creative workshops. But what's really important is that this is the key moment where a UX expert comes in and can define, how does a product need to look in the future? Where can I combine steps? Where can I actually separate steps to create and reduce information overload? You know, cognitive behavior, the human psychology interacting with any product needs to always be taken into account, and is the primary focus of delivering enhanced and wonderful experiences. So to summarize this a little bit and kind of get a little breather in my segment of today's webinar, I'd like to always talk about these 6 foundational workshops. So we looked a bit more into detail about personas, value proposition design, customer journey maps, and service blueprint. But the user scenarios is a little bit different than the ones before. The user scenarios takes your service blueprint and actually inserts your personas into them and tries to see, are they actually truly achieving what you dreamt to be, what you envisioned the product life should look like. If I suddenly want to revolutionize a mobile application for ordering food, for instance, and in the past, the user wouldn't be able to filter, wouldn't be able to pay online, and now he can because I've added these new features, is it truly enhancing their experience? Naturally, you would think so, but when you truly insert the persona, you maybe realize he's actually spending 5 minutes longer per transaction, and it's actually more tedious for them. So user scenarios truly acts as a testing and validation of our service blueprint theories. And unlike in the past, right, you'd always immediately design and then you'd move forward. It's only once you've done this research part that you can actually start sketching, building wireframes, building interactive prototypes, and truly having a product that's, you know, ready for production. So going into my third topic today is we're going to be looking at how we evolve the product approach. We've talked a lot about user experience. We've talked a lot about how this ties into good exercises, good workshops. But nonetheless, the webinar is called Leading to Experience, and we really need to add this into a product approach. Things have obviously evolved now. In the past, you'd always have waterfall methodologies. You'd be thinking in a project where you have a certain amount of deliverables and always just running in line by line. But in a product, you're talking a lot more about agility. And in the context of experience, lean UX is something that's very interesting here. So as I was saying earlier, right, in this waterfall transition of things, you do project framing, you pretty much go disappear, have a coffee for a few months, come back, and your product will be in production. And that entire aspect of feedback looping, as Thibault also mentioned earlier, how continuous feedback in DevOps is so essential. Likewise here, continuous feedback through every single step of the way and integrating the UX expert, the UI expert, the writer, UX writing, and also the analytical aspect, the tester. All these roles have very key parts to play, and they need to be continuous throughout the process. And application modernization is always going to be about continuous improvement. And we're talking about end-to-end user experience, so it doesn't matter what sector we're in. We could be in retail, we could be in services, we could be in touristic information applications. At the end of the day, how we consume information is always going to be about us sharing our stories, our feelings, and making sure that our experience was truly memorable. So being user-centric, this is achieved when we think of lean UX. And today we have a combination of that real center aspect of design thinking on one side, agility on the other, and continuous improvement, continuous reiterating, and building concepts, testing them, acquiring feedback, and moving forward this is where I believe that user experience is truly at its peak. At Devoteam, we do that in every single one of our projects, could be infrastructure or development. We always take a notion of adoption experience at the center of it. And I believe that this is truly key for anyone else trying to move forward in today's digital challenges. I have one more topic I'd love to talk about, and that is shifting from unicorns to leaders. I always like to believe that the user experience has to be this unicorn profile. A lot of people put on applications saying we want a UX UI designer who can write specs and who can draw and who's an absolute creative genius, who's artistic and has great communication skills. I mean, it sounds like a perfect package, but it's almost never really going to happen or exist. We have hundreds, thousands of new jobs that are coming out into the market right now. And I mentioned some roles before, and I want to define that with my next slide. So why your versatile experience expert is your most powerful asset is truly going to be able to be something important to remember. True transformative success is achieved when you're building products that are always going to be immersed with cloud technologies and be very granular in how they approach things. Well, what is true experience, right? We talk about adoption, we talk about performance, we talk about intuitivity. In today's world, we definitely go far beyond that. If we talk about technical efficiency, it's going to be achieved by communicating between development, infrastructure, and different stakeholders throughout the project. You talk about customer satisfaction and true adoption. If you want to achieve business success, you have to make sure you're applying user-centric principles that are responding to your target audiences and that you're making decisions based off raw factual data and not just theoretical ideas that could have happened. You want to test your product extensively and obviously do the key development and implementation required. You need someone who's driving this product vision. And nonetheless, no project is ever going to achieve true success without proper coordination. And that is via governance. By merging both product and project management, you can truly achieve an extraordinary level of governance within any of your future or ongoing projects. And on the left, I'm going to show a little bit of a life cycle of roles, I could say, which I think truly summarizes what exists today in anyone's team. You have that governance role, the testing, the customer, the adoption, the business place, the development infrastructure aspects, and then this experience expert, this versatile experience expert who, again, I believe is your most powerful asset. The one who's going to be focused on the human experience, the customer experience, and take it from there. So we have these 6 pillars in all of our roles, and obviously our governance is our coordinator. It's going to be a combination of how to making sure all the teams are collaborating and talking with each other. But leadership and leadership through experience comes from this experience expert. And it branches out into UX, into UI, and this role is always going to be transverse across all the other 5 roles. They need to be involved in every single aspect because however wonderfully you can build your product technologically, if it's not being pitched to the right people, communicated to the right people, or even shared and debugged and tested with those people, your adoption and your ROI on that entire project is much less than what it truly will be. I think the next speaker, Thierry Bartel, will talk a lot about this. But before I finish, once you've got this wonderful cycle of team together and actually centralize it around your experience, then I believe that you'll be able to create true modern applications using Microsoft Cloud technologies, but be able to deliver a enhanced end-to-end experience that truly responds to what your user needs. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them later on. And I'd love to then segue into Thierry Bartel, who's going to talk everything and all things about change management.
Thank you, Avi. I will from now share my screen. That should be it. Great. So first thing, welcome. Good afternoon on this sunny afternoon for Friday. So it's quite good to see a bit of sun today in Luxembourg, at least. I will present you now in the context of app modernization, why change management matters. We have already speak with Avi about the experience. We have speak also with Magnus about the part which are about the FinOps, financial operation, and with Thibaut with how you can enhance your automatic deployments. But what happens if nobody uses the apps? Okay, so that's why I will really try to convince you this afternoon the change management and why it matters to all. But first of all, let me introduce myself a bit more. So my name is Thierry. I'm the head of the customer success team in Devoteam Luxembourg. Me and my team tackle one of a big problem, I would say, which is the user adoption. We're going to define, okay, that word through my part, but user adoption is a way to help people change their habits. So that's why change management and adoption go side by side, actually. As you can see on the slide, I'm really passionate about cloud services and particularly a big fan about Microsoft cloud services, to be honest. I'm a tech lover since I was 12. I have completely disassembled my first Packard Bell computer at the time. In Windows 95, maybe it was, 98 for close. And I do have a lots of sneakers at home. So I'm what we call the sneakers addict. I have more than 20. And continue on shoes, I would say I like to go hiking. I just discovered recently how skiing could be great, and I'm still trying to learn about it. So those are my passion for the moment. To get in touch with me, you can use my LinkedIn profile page. I would be happy to answer a question. About the recording of the webinar, as I already replied before, it will be posted to our website, but I will reshare this information into LinkedIn too. So make sure that you stay tuned into the Devoteam page and also to mine for the recording and much more for sure. Okay, so first, let's define what is change management. Okay, change management is planning and introducing a new process, method of working in a company or organization. Quite vague, right? So I will try to define that, but let's keep in mind that change management is introducing new process, new method of working. And in my job and with my team, we do try to help users actually by enjoying and benefiting the most of the solution that they have using the cloud solution which is given to them. And I would like here some fun facts during this presentation. So fun facts, myths and reality number one. We focus all our change management effort on end user. They are the one who need it the most. So just like I told you before, it seems logic, right? Because we're not going to have anybody else in that loop to help them. But actually, guys, you're wrong if you think that. Change management is an effort that addresses everyone on the project. Project manager, a sponsor, the IT, the HR, communication team. It's a team effort actually, okay? So that's why in our role as change manager, we play a bit like sometimes what I like to see like the operator of the orchestra, okay? We try to not direct, but we try to make sure that all the gear work together in the same direction, giving the information to the end user, to the ambassador, to the sponsor, as we're going to see it after, but also for sure to the end user. We are user-centric in our method, but it's a common work and we need to make sure that every information is shared and known by everyone. So change management, not only for end user, for everyone, from C-level to the end user, I would say. So let's have a look also how project management and change management are different. The technical side is usually handled by the project management, the project manager. We define that as a project manager is to prepare a solution, a platform or services, a product for the organization. So that's mostly the technical part. His role is to concept, to develop, and then to deliver the solution for sure. On the other side, we have the change management, where we are really mostly business user focused, people focused. The role is inverted here. We prepare the organization for the solution. Okay, so once again, technical side, we prepare something for the company, and in change management, we prepare the company to use the solution at best. Okay, When it comes to change management, as you see on this slide, we go through different steps. There is the current steps, the actual steps. This is what we have. And we have a transition phase. Most of the effort for the change management and also for the project management is made during the transition phase. And then we have the future. But actually for change management, we could already start all of our action into the current phase, into the actual phase, because we will need to assess how are the things right now. And we would like to know how they will be in the future. We would like to know the vision of the company about that. And also, once the product has been delivered, we need to make sure that the change stick, so that we usually use the solution on a daily basis and that we fully use it. That's why, as change manager, we take care about engaging people, make sure that they adopt the product and that they use the product at best. At Devo team, we have seen that both combined will lead to a high chance of project success. Just taking the technical part was working, I would say, like 5 or 10 years ago, when we just upgraded from an actual services to another one that bring new feature, new UX, and which is more cost friendly. But the cloud solution that we have now change our daily habits. That's why we need to make sure that we communicate, that we train people, and that everybody is aware of the vision of the company about that and why is the change needed. Both combined, project success. Okay? Next one, methodologies, a bit of technical. I will try to stay simple here for sure. Let's look at what Microsoft have when it comes to adoption. Left-hand side first, we have the Microsoft Services Adoption Framework. So the Microsoft Services is mostly used for everything which is on the modern workplace part, Office 365, and also the product inside. We have a 3-step phase approach. The starting phase. The starting phase is used to build the team, to assess the existing, and also to prepare the IT. Then we have the experiment phase. On that phase, usually we take a small group of people. Some people call them key user. Some people call them ambassador already. I will come back to that definition later on, to try the action, to try the communication, to try the training. And once we have tried and once we have get the feedback from those teams, we are ready to scale our method to the whole company. This is the Microsoft Services Adoption Framework. Right hand side, a bit more technical, you do have to know that Microsoft proposed a specific framework for cloud adoption. Okay, so at first and once we have to define a strategy. Do we want to go fully to the cloud? Do we have to wait for certain apps to be migrated? Do we just want to transfer our big data there? Or do we want to have some innovation? Defining the strategy should be made once for every, I would say, step of the migration to the cloud. Then, project by project, product by product, services by services, we first have to do a plan for each. The plan will have to be having some roadmaps, some governance, some guidance also. Then we get the team ready. We prepare the environment. We make sure that we assess all the resources that need to be migrated or changed or updated. And then we have the adoption phase. Adoption phase is highly interesting when we look at the cloud adoption framework, because there is several ways of doing it. You could go for a simple, quick and easy lift and shift by migrating the apps. That's easy, that's cool, that's nice. It's a very nice quick win, but it's not the one which is the most cost friendly at the long run. I think after a certain step of maturity, we can start to innovate. We can re-architecture the app. We can also develop cloud native apps. Okay, maybe we're gonna decommission the other one to have something which is fully cloud native, to fully take advantage of the scalability of the cloud, of every services that we have now that we didn't have back in the past when we have developed the first solution. Okay, so really interesting. A quick win is to migrate. Innovation will let you leverage the full power of the cloud for your services. and is the best when it comes to the long run for cost management. Then we have two steps that we already do actually for on-premises services: governance and the management. Quite the same, but for sure, service by service, product by product, we need to manage them and to govern those services. For your first migration, I'm pretty sure that you're going to go for migration. But maybe later on, when you're going to have more experience about cloud migration for the apps, you're going to start innovating. And this is really where you can take the full benefit of everything that you can have in Microsoft Azure here. Two methodology from Microsoft that I will like to place later on with another one that I will introduce you. But first, another fun facts. We don't need executive leadership to help drive our IT modernization. We can handle that alone. Sure, you can, but change champions. Very interesting. Let's imagine that you have a brand new apps where people need to change their habits. I think that for everything that you have made in the past, you have seen the number of tickets that highly raise when you have new change. What if I propose you, for almost no cost, to lower this amount of ticket and problem? Say yes. And I will tell you that's easy, because in every company, there is people that are ready to help, and I'd like to help other people to endorse this change. We like to onboard them and label them as change champions. They will help to promote the vision. They will help to support also the usage of the apps. They will be maybe trained in advanced and having deeper training on the solution. This is what I like to call the level 0 of the support. And this is what we all do. Hey, Antoine, for example, I have a small problem with Excel. Can you please help me on that? Oh, maybe Thierry, I have a problem with my Outlook. Can you have a look? Sure, yeah, no problem. We all do that. And coming from figures of Microsoft studies, we all do prefer to learn from our close colleague rather than having an external trainer or the IT trainer. Change champions, very important. Then, okay, I have my change champions, but it's a bit blurry. I don't know what's going on in my company. We are having and using more and more services to the cloud. What's the purpose? Why does my company want to migrate that to Microsoft services? They can't handle it. They are having some issue with the support with IT. I don't know what's going on. We definitely need an executive people, a C-level, to tell us the vision of the company about that. And in all the change management initiative, I personally do make sure that the sponsor is present at the very first stage and it's very visible to everyone. It helps people to be reassured. It helps also that the vision is not a process or migration which come out of the blue. It has been supported by the executive and it's really a vision that we have the chance to spread to everyone there. Without both, it could work, okay? Don't get me wrong. But people might be lost because they don't know where is the priority of the company. Without champions, you can support them, no worries. We do have all very efficient service desk. But if you want to take the new opportunity to build a community of champions that will help you to leverage next initiative, that's really a great point to start also. So now, the other methodology, the ProSci methodology. It's a common framework when it comes to change management. We can use that when it comes to app modernization. We can use it when we go for a cloud migration. You can even use it if you like to change your car, something in your house, or anything. This is really something that I sometimes do use in my private life too. There is 3 phases in that. And please note also in the middle, the presence of the ADKAR, and we'll come back a bit later to the ADKAR part, and also success, because we all want success, right? And same, I will explain those 2 parts a bit later again. But first, let's have a deep look to the step 1. Step 1 is preparing the approach. we have 3 questions to answer. What are we trying to achieve? Is this a migration? Are we going to propose new feature? Why is the change there? And what will be the success? That's also related to the next one. Who has to do their job differently? Because maybe your change initiative will not have impact on anyone. So putting a lot of effort on training and communication to everyone, it's a loss of money actually, okay? So really have to identify which person is going to be impacted by the change and how the change will be to them. That's why we do user analysis also, with having workshops, defining the approach. Well, what will it take to achieve the success? And after all, at that step, what is the success? What is the KPI that I want to have? And having this in mind at the very first step will help us at the end to say, okay, we achieve that % of adoption in that department, but this one is lower than the other one. Why? And then we can maybe reinforce the change to those departments. I like just here to stop for a second. If you do remember, Microsoft for the cloud services adoption have also a 3-step phase approach. They are very close. Microsoft have, I think, took some inspiration from ProSci, which is the leading company when it comes to change management, okay? Step 2 now. What do we have? First, the overall. So managing change. At that step, we're gonna really plan and act. What will we do to prepare and equip people? Is training only necessary? Do we need to communicate with them? And we can answer that question pretty easily because at the step before, we have prepared the approach. Track the performance, how we are doing. It's very good to have feedbacks, but who is going to analyze the feedback? Where the feedback will be stored? And how we're going to communicate those feedback to people in charge of the training, people in charge of the communication. I give lots of training, but very often I do see feedback form as just a happy place where people can put their remark, but they are not analyzed. It is highly important that we create a digital feedback loop to improve in a continuous way what we do about the performance. And then we have to adapt because we know what's going right, what's going wrong. We need to make adjustments. That's why in the phase 2, you will see here, there is a small loop. It's a continuous process until everything is perfect, until every plans that we have built, I'll introduce the plans a bit later too, lots of suspense, right, are doing right or wrong. And then when the change has been applied and we are happy with the KPI, it's time to say goodbye. It's time to sustain the outcome, to review what worked, what didn't work, like the lesson learned in project management, okay? We have a lesson book where we can say, okay, this department is not really keen to have training. Okay, we're going to maybe push more communication, or maybe we're going to propose them coaching. Activate the sustainment. What is needed to ensure that the change sticks? What will make sure that these people will continue to use the apps and that will try to look for a new feature and give feedbacks in the future? And also very important, who will assume the ownership and sustain the outcome? I really hate to say goodbye by knowing that thing will go wrong after I leave. And this is really at that step that we're going to transfer the ownership of the change management. Okay, my job here is done. I would love to stay. We can stay more if you like, no problems. But now I think that you're ready enough to take care about that, about yourself. And that step, we didn't have the closeout of the change management step. Okay, 3-step approach. We prepare, we manage, we plan, we act, and then we sustain the outcome, meaning we transfer the ownership in that, and we review what we have done. This is a framework that I really love and that can be applied for Microsoft Tech and others also. A word about the ADKAR. ADKAR is also something that I even use at least 2 or 3 times a day to make sure that I can have this change in my mind and that I can apply this change in my day. I need to go through all the ADKAR steps because ADKAR is a step-by-step process. First is the awareness. I need to understand why I have this change. What is the vision? And if I know why, I will start to have desire. If I don't have desire, I will have to work again into the awareness step to spread the vision of the company mainly. And on the desire step, there is a very important thing, which is the what's in it for me. What will be the advantage for me, Thierry, when I change that step? Then the knowledge. We all know about it. This is where we train people. But you can't train them if they don't have the desire and if you don't know where we're going to lead them to. Okay, see, really, this is a step-by-step approach. Ability is the knowledge that I'm able to apply in my daily job. Okay, I know how to use the apps, the solution, how it's going to change my daily work, and how I'm going to apply what I've learned in my daily year. Once again, you can't apply ability if you don't know how, if you don't have desire, and if you're not aware of where you're going. Really, you can't skip any step in this ADKAR framework. Last but not the least, reinforce. One of my colleagues had a funny story about it. She went to the dentist, and the dentist told her, you really need to change how you brush your teeth, you know. But why? I do not have any problem with my teeth. Well, what's wrong with it? Yeah, but on the long run, you will need to change. So she tried to change the way that she brushed her teeth. But after a week, she came back onto the basic way to brushing her teeth. So reinforcing is a way to continuously apply what we have learned on all the previous steps to make sure that the change sticks on the long run. It needs usually few days, few weeks. People are sometimes a bit more resistant, sometimes maybe a small months for that to stick, but it depends on how the change is big and what will change for everyone actually. So you don't have a template for change management. Every people is different, and also every company's culture is highly different there. And the last piece of the framework is the success for sure. This is all what we want. The success can only be achieved if the three pillars are correctly managed. We first have on bottom left the project management. If you don't have a solution that is exactly as you wanted, that will be bad for people because the analysis and so on are badly made. At the very top, we have the sponsorship. We have to have someone, an executive level, a C-level, which is there to promote the change, to support the change for everyone. And bottom right, the change management. The change management will only start to grow when the project will be delivered and running, actually. This is totally normal. But about this, some people sometimes ask, but how can I do that? Because it's very nice, your concept, but concretely, what do you do? What is the change manager role? And how do you act on that? I would say we do workshops, a few workshops, and we do have concrete things to deliver. First part will help us to define the strategy. Are you a small startup where you don't need much training, where the people are very young and very tech friendly? Or are you, I would say, a classical company that don't like change and that have plenty of change coming at the same time? We do usually 2 workshops. After the first one, we create a draft strategy. This is where we do assess the ADKAR step of every group. And the second one is where we finalize the strategy by creating, just like Avi have said before, personas also. Okay? So 2 workshops with business user will help us to know more about the company and the change readiness, actually. Next, the purple part, 2 workshops also will help us to build plans, will help us to implement the plans and to improve in a continuous manner our plans. What's the plans? I will show you that later again, okay? A bit of patience, please. Plans are our way to deliver the change, if you prefer. So already here, we have 2 things that we deliver: strategy, plans, implementation of the plans, and improvements. And at the end, as we saw before, using the ProSci methodology, we reinforce, we make sure it sticks. We can do every step. We can just do the strategy definition, but we can't just do the plans. I can't create plans and roadmap without knowing the design, without knowing how the company is actually. So it's really also a step-by-step approach. Phase 1 actually is there. Phase 2, and then phase 3 we reinforce. Okay. Another fun facts. That's my favorite. That's my main favorite. Change management means communication and training. That's plain and simple. I don't need anything else for sure. This is how I'm doing that since the last 20 years and pretty much work every time. Yeah, you can, but you have to do communication and training. That's sure, but there is much more. How much training is needed? You can't know that if you don't do a stakeholder analysis. Is my training very well delivered? I don't know. It's not my part. It's not my part. I'm just IT. I'm just deploying the stuff here. Performance management. We have also to develop some governance, policy development, business process re-engineering, because I have a new solution that changed my way of doing it. Maybe I need to re-engineer that. Marketing effort. Is it really needed that we send each week a newsletter about what's new in the solution, what have been improved, how do people read them? And also workforce impact. How is the change really different from what I'm doing? If you send lots of communication, if you oblige people to go in training, you will discourage them to go and to stick to future change actually. So yes, training and communication are fully needed. But there is plenty much of other effort that a change manager focus on. All together makes change management, not only training and communication. The plans that I've introduced a bit before. ProSci have 4 plans that can be applied once again to app modernization, migration, changing your car, shaving your dogs, I don't know, changing your rims of your car, changing anything actually. First one will address every step of the ADCAR, which is the communication. I really believe that if I know that the change is coming, I will get prepared as soon as I can. You will actually kill in the egg the rumor. Even if you don't know the deployment date, go. Tell people the change is coming. We're going to have a new tools. We're going to decommission that in the future. Let's be a bit more transparent in what we do, okay? Then maybe a bit less communication for the desire, the knowledge and the ability. And last, reinforcement. Hey guys, due to the new app, we have reduced the CO2 carbon emission of this department by 25%. What a big achievement, right? Reinforcement will help people to project into the change, into what is in it for them. And then we have to prepare with the executive a sponsor roadmap. We can't say, and it's normal for everyone, to anybody, okay, this is what you're going to have to send as email for the next 20 weeks, and that's all. We need to make sure that our sponsor agree on activities. Please be visible on the first and the second workshop. Please do send an email, or here is the email, actually it's already prepared, you just need to send it to some teams that are already the key user. And at the end also about the reinforcement, okay, now we have deployed that, here is what we're going to do next, here is what you achieve good, here is what you achieve bad. The sponsor need to be visible through the whole change management process here. We also my ProSci also recommend, and that's really something important from my opinion, to have a people's managers plan. People's manager are every people that are in charge of a team, because those person will have to do their daily job, will have to support their team, and will have to support the change on their own too. So it's really important to make sure that the vision is spread, that everybody is well trained, that those managers know the situation, and maybe have a kind of change management toolkit. Maybe we can train them also on change management handling. Last but not the least, for sure, the famous training plan. I love that one, especially when it comes to new feature, new apps migration. A question that is always a mystery to me is the following. Okay, we now have a brand new tool. We have organized training very well. But what is about the newcomer in the future? Would you propose this training to the newcomer? And most of the time, people tell me, oh, actually, we didn't thought about that. It's good, Thierry, that you think about that. Yes, you need to have a continuous training plan when it comes to new solution. Then the blue one are one that Microsoft do recommend also. Very easy to do, the next one, resistance management. What are the resistance points that I do see, and how are we going to counter them? That will help me to create desire, and that will help me to reinforce and stick to the change. Another one, which is pretty much easy because we have lots of metrics, adoption measurement plan. What is the usage of the platform? We do use a few metrics, like sometimes the security score when it comes to Microsoft. Lots of people don't know that we do have also, for the modern workplace part, a productivity score, free to use, that helps you to compare how you use the new feature like sharing a link to people rather than sending attachment. There is an easy way to send to people also communication and email using this productivity score for the modern workplace. But generally speaking, what I do mean here, you need to make sure to proctor some KPI and to put some success metrics on the KPI. And it can also help you department by department, group by group, to check what's wrong and what's good with them. We have also a change network plan. Broadly speaking, a change network plan helps to convince people, usually at starting from the C-level, the executive, to spread the word and to create a network of change-ready people. I'd like to see this also as the change ambassador network. Who are the people that we're going to enroll as change champions? How are we going to enroll them? What will be the advantage for them? And also, maybe it's important, I think, to make sure that the HR department is aware that they are change manager or change champion, sorry, and that this is recognized in maybe their annual report or their weekly report to them, okay? How are people going to see that this is a change champions? Do we need some signage? Do we need some specific goodies for them? And how are we going to connect it to each other? Is there a kind of network that we can use where you can discuss and share ideas? How are we going to build a change champions community, actually? That's the one that I love too. Last is also interesting, reward and recognition. How to create also, like the resistance management one, desire and reinforcement. Reward and commission, lots of people think, okay, I'm going to get a bonus at the end of the year. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But here, what I meant by that is, okay, this department have lowered the email of attachment, email with attachment, and they have used linked. The usage of this app is way higher in this department than the other. We can maybe recognize the value of the effort they have placed. Creating a communication where we see that this department have succeeded and have lowered the time to do something with the new apps will also help the other to create desire and to reinforce the change. So this one is quite handy too. It depends for sure how big is the change. Maybe you don't need all those 8 plans. Maybe you just need the basic 4. Maybe the sponsor roadmap can be pretty high and the other one pretty low. We can't know that if we don't assess first. And for sure, we can create other plans also. It really depends on the company culture and what we're going to have to make the stick as a change for people. Fun facts for myths and reality. We have engaged once the technical team is ready to deploy. And once we have completed that, it's done. Not really how change management practice should be done, from my opinion. Here, You have to understand that the change management initiative start at the initial planning. We have lots of action as change manager that we can do even before anything is done, technically speaking. Because please remember, we have to assess the existing and we have to transpose that into the future state so people know what will be the change, what will be their impact in their daily job, and what will really change for them. So starting of a IT project, starting of the change management project, from my opinion. Then, when it comes to IT modernization, we also need to make sure that it goes post-implementation. It's not once the solution has been delivered that the change managers say, goodbye guys, it's done now, I've done my job. No, that's really an important time for the change manager where you have to check if all the plans that you have envisioned are the right one, which one need to be changed, which departments stick to the change already or not, and where is into the ADKAR model, the company in a broad way. So it started at the very beginning, from my opinion, and even after the implementation of the solution there. This schema is quite interesting to have a look. Please feel free to do screenshots and everything, because it's really, really something that I want to frame, and I really want everybody to understand that. We have a few steps when it comes to PM, and we do have steps when we go to CM, change management. Initiation and assessment phase can be at the same time. Okay, here I put it a bit below because we can start a bit later. It's not a big deal. And then we have to create a strategy as a change manager. We can already do that when you're into the planning of the project if you're a PM. Okay. Next step is the design, as we call it. Here, we're going to have to create our plans, creating the workshop with the business user, and make sure that the plans are tailor-made for every persona that we have made before. Then the product is going to implement the solution. That's really the key time to execute the plan, to have a look to the metrics, if they are high or low, and maybe to rework them and change them. Project closure after the implementation, this is where we still have a lots of job to do. As change manager, we're going to sustain the change. Please print that, do a poster. I can print you a card if you want or something, but it is highly important for everyone to understand that change management should not be shrink to the very last step of the project. It should go end by end for us as change manager to understand every step of the planning, the design, implementation, and to act in a concrete way when the time comes to. We can be in pause for several steps and then come back later. But the most important here is, from my opinion, the three first when it comes to CM, from assessment to planning. Then we are ready, we are in the starting block, and we are ready to execute that. But finally, the question, why does it matter? Okay, you're all here looking, hearing me and looking at me since minutes now, but why does it matter, Thierry? It's simple. Let's start with that easy question. And you're going to see also some strange result will come. How much % of your project success depend on adoption? Is people going to change a lot or maybe not? So the success of my project, does it really depend on the adoption of it? Or I'm just going to force people to do that? What's the %? And please compare this % to this one. % of the budget you have invested in change management. If you have a high discrepancy between both, I think, guys, you're getting in trouble in that. Okay? It should be quite close. Not maybe that close, but shouldn't be completely extreme, okay? Because you can't have some app modernization without people using it. You need to invest budget for change management too. There is also ROI that I love, because what's the metric? What's the ROI if I do that? What's the value? What should I invest? You do have to know that there is a few ROI that depend on human factor. First, speed. More quickly people are going to embrace the new app, more easy it will be to have training, sticking to the change, and as fast you're gonna maybe cut the budget because it's done. We don't need. They're quickly adapt that. Okay, so more efficient, more speed here. The ultimate utilization of the app. How many people are using the solution right now? This is especially important because I do see a lot of initiative where people create a new app, a new solution, but do not decommission the other. Okay, it's still there, you can use it, but it will go down at a certain point. You will never have people embracing a new solution with that. You need to be clear that the other app will be decommissioned, and it's better to start using the new one to get your hands over it, to improve it in a continuous manner. So the ultimate utilization are many people in there. And then the pro efficiency. Concrete example, very easy to understand. I have buy some Microsoft 365 license, for example, but I'm still using other tools to manage my task, to manage my projects that are outside. It's good, yeah, you can totally do that, but do you know that you have some solutions that are highly efficient to manage task, project into the package? You have ever heard about Planner, about project? Planner is built in, Planner is free. Yes, maybe you're going to have to get rid of the 2% of the feature that you want, but are those 2% really worth the investment that you're going to do for something else? So the pre-efficiency is really something that we care as customer success, because by using that, you can be sustainable. You will achieve more by investing less, because you're going to know your platform, you're going to know the capability, and maybe you can stick to one solution to fit all your needs. Maybe that's the dream, okay? But think that the pro-efficiency here is how well you perform compared to the level of expected design of change. Really important. So if you don't have change management, those 3 human factors, you can throw them away already. Also, those are ProSci figures from studies, because ProSci have made studies for more than 20 years when it comes to change management. First, this is here, the percent of people that have said that they have met or exceeded the objective of the project. Even if you do poor change management initiative, you already raised the bar of having 15% chance more that you meet or exceed your project objective. The best here is the second, from my opinion. With fair activities in change management, you're already going to extend 3 times more the chance to have meeting your project objective. And for sure, the last is also very important. Up to 93% more chance to meet or exceed your project objective if you do an excellent job when it comes to change management. Okay, so those are really key figures, okay? And it's not out of the blue figure. You can look into the ProSci website. They have published studies for more than 20 years. A last fun fact, a last myth and reality. It's difficult to measure success of your change management activities during an IT modernization effort. No, I'm sorry, no. Leaders and team are quick to claim a victory once it's deployed. Yeah, good, we have made like before, it's deployed, it's live, people can go, people will use them by themselves, people don't need training, we have done the communication, that's great. No, but how to measure that? Usage of the app, okay? And also the feedback of the communication, feedback of the training, and stakeholder feedback in a continuous way. We just have to create here a kind of loop where we analyze those feedback and we have to put them side by side with the usage metrics of the app. Remember the productivity score that I told you before. It's a great tool. And here, there is KPIs that we can place at the very beginning too. Okay, so it's up to you to set the metrics of your own success. And as change manager, we can help you on that. We can help you leverage the bar, or we can say, okay, 100% of usage after the first week, maybe it's a bit too much, you know. So we have to define that, but there is metrics that you can use to measure your success when it comes to change management. Let's go back to ProSci figure again. Here on the left side, percent of respondents that were under the budget. Very interesting to gain money because you have invested on change management. Up to 81% with excellent change management initiative. But please don't look up all the time. Look down. Even with poor initiative, just a bit. 48 projects for respondent have said that they were on or under the budget. So just a bit is sometimes just enough, you know. On the right side, percent of respondents that were on or ahead schedule. Here, please look up. With excellent change management, up to 71% of the respondents have said that they were on or ahead their schedule again. Very interesting. This is almost a growing, which is exponential here. Very, very straight line here. Okay. And once again, those are not out of the blue figure. Go into the ProSci website, www.prosci.com. You're going to find studies and their figure. They are public. Okay. So those are just figure, guys, but it's up to you. And last but not the least, maybe today you're a bit fragile when it comes to change management because you are into a company that have a long history, a very old company where there is plenty of process. There is kind of an administrative nightmare when there is a thing to ask, a thing to change. And maybe you want a brighter future. Maybe you'd like to have a more change-ready company. Having a change-ready company always starts with a person, always start with one initiative. By building a change-ready person, you're going to achieve then to have a change-ready team, a few individuals, maybe 5, maybe 7, maybe 10, maybe 2, it's fine too, but you help them grow. You help them to see that change is something that we can handle, that we do have experts that know how to handle the change, and we can rely on them in the future when next change is coming. After the department grows the department, team by team, we have a set of people that we call here a department. Having a change-ready department is something amazing because you're going to be ready maybe to have new way of doing, like creating their own apps. Using Microsoft solution, you can have business users creating their very own apps with the Power Platform, for example. But for sure, you need concrete example. You need framework. You need governance. But you need also people that help the project to work, and another set of people that need the people to work together. And finally, the ultimate goal is to have a whole company which is change ready. There is no excuse. We just have to change step by step. It will grow us. It will help us to be more change ready. And if I take the example of Devoteam, we receive updates of our Office software pretty much every day for most of them. For some of them, I would say. There's nothing to be afraid of because the change is there. We do have people that know how to handle the change. We rely on them. We know it's working. And I know that on the next change, we're going to be a change-ready company. And this is ultimately what we all want to achieve. Because due to the amount of change that we're facing now, there is no way to go back. We have to deal with it. So that's why we have to grow competency when it comes to change management for everyone, not only as change manager, but also, I would say, as business user of the application. And that's my last word. Be a change-ready company to help you grow in a more agile way in the future. Thank you, everyone. It was my speech about why change management matters for everyone when it comes to app modernization. Antoine, you're on mute.
Sorry, of course, is the new sentence with the COVID. You're on mute. So thank you, Thierry, again. So now we've learned about our today's topic. You may have some question for our experts. So don't be shy. You can write it down in the chat. Either it seems we already spoke about it today. There is no done question, so we are glad to hear from you. So far, I don't see any question. Anyway, it's all right. You can also ask your question to our expert through LinkedIn. We also thank you all for participating in today's show. Thank you to our experts, Elio, Thibaut, Magnus, Evie, and last but not least, Thierry. The session is recorded and will be put on our website.